So they don't believe in the freedom of, owning and freedom of work, freedom of saving, and nothing. So a Christian can never be a Marxist, never be a Marxist. Marxism and Christianity are antagonistic. They are not complementary. Wrongly, many people think they are complementary. They are not complementary. Absolutely not. They are not complementary. Yes. Christians are divided as to their view of economics. Many believe that the Bible teaches a system of private property and individual responsibility and initiatives. There are many passages which we mentioned some last week, Isaiah 65, Jeremiah 32, Acts chapter 5, Ephesians 4, and many other passages teach us that. Some Christians erroneously think that Acts chapter 2 supports either Marxism or socialism, They say from everybody according to his ability to everybody according to his need. But that passage does not teach that at all. What that passage teaches is every person has the freedom to own and to give. You can't even sell and give because it's your property. Socialism and Marxism says it's government's property. We will sell it. We will take it away from you, and we will distribute it. There is no such centralized distribution. There was only voluntary giving. Marxism or socialism does not have anything to do with voluntary giving. That's only capitalism. Because the voluntary giving says that it is mine. If I want, I will give. Peter asked Ananias and Sapphira the question, was it not yours before you sold it? Even after sold it, was the money not yours? Why you have it? You decided to give the whole, then give whole. Don't give half and say that we gave. That's lie. That's what their sin was. Lying to the Holy Spirit. You are not lying to man. You are lying to God. That's what they were punished for. Bible teaches and encourages definitely, private enterprises. Yes. And there are some even who goes to the extent of arguing for a Marxian economy. The liberation theologians, for example, advocate this system. However, liberation theology itself is wrong. And then what to say about their economics? There are no biblical support for the system. They believe heaven could be established on earth through modified Marxian system. No. Any country on the earth where Marxism has existed for a while, you can go and look at it. It's pathetic. It's pathetic. Ronald Reagan has, opened doors on these iron curtains of Russia, and what we have seen was absolute poverty. The Russians, they said, we give up. The Americans wanted the Star Wars, Reagan was going ahead with one. The Russians said, we have no money for Star Wars here. People are starving for bread. So we have to give it up. Said that you don't need to go ahead. We open up our curtains and show you our poverty. So Reagan said, better you do that. And there was nothing. The people were not having food. The whole Soviet Russia collapsed. The Soviet Union collapsed. Individual countries in that union all got freedom. They declared freedom themselves. They all went. You cannot have a Marxist system successful. What is the motivation to work in a Marxist system? Everybody's property is nobody's property. That's what it is. No, there is no motivation. The motivation has to come when it is your property and your labor is yours and you get the benefit of it. The produce is yours. There is great satisfaction in a pineapple farmer holding a pineapple in his hand and said to children that, look, this is what, God has blessed us with our labor.
Soviet Union, during those days, there were excellent space and also in sports. Both requires motivation.
Yes. Because government required them. You'll be shot if you don't run. But look at America. They're good in both. Right? They're good in both. The America is good in both. What is that? Who was that man? Phelps or somebody who was amassed so many gold from water. Americans have taught us that you can get water out of gold. How many he got? 8 or 9. Yeah. Yeah.
Total is.
Yes.
So my question is, how that kind of work and sports advancement needed?
The sports advancement was there because the government has recruited very able, children from childhood. They were given special food and special allowance for sports. So they themselves found that a sportsman in Russia was far better than any other profession, because all they have to do is run and do the exercise and eat good food and all that. So in a system like that, it will be. In America, government doesn't do anything to encourage sports. It's all private. You run if you want. But then there they run because they want to. And they excel. In many sports they excel. In the Olympics, they excel. In any enterprises, America is excelling. The more Americans get Nobel Prize than any other country. Why? Because the freedom. The freedom. An American scientist can do research independently. And he gets credit for it. Here in India, you cannot do it. You work for a firm, you cannot do independent research. Even if you find out something, it belongs to the company. You cannot get patent, So it's a different system. In America, the land you own is yours. Of course, when you purchase it, you have to purchase with the rights for minerals. There's a special clause. This property is sold with the rights for minerals. Then whatever gold is found there, if petrol is found there, it's yours. You can dig it and you can take it. The government will get only the tax, but it's your land. But in India, you bought a piece of land and petrol is found, next day you are evicted. This land is government's. Because it's mineral rights, we don't have it, We can only pick up certain things that are found on certain feet, in the top layer of the soil. Anything below that, it belongs to the government. So what motivation is there? So even if you know that there is petrol underneath, you'll keep quiet because you're going to lose. That's why people do that. So
Then how is that a lot of people in Karnataka, they became rich overnight?
yes,
So
corruption. It's a
there are
corruption.
landowners who
It's a-
got money.
Yes, the landowners will get money because
They are paid certain percent.
yes, you're paid certain, not for the things that you dig, but it is the government gets it. But when your land is found gold or this one, the land is costing more. You are not paid the market value. There is a special price set. If my land is found with a lot of gold, I am not going to give 1 lakh% or something. The valuation is different. So I'll get a lot more money. That way. Yes. The people there, the ministers get so much money, every day. Every day. Ministers all. In our Indian system, the ministers get money for anything people, because you want to get a contract for mining. For every ton ores you take, so much percentage will automatically come to the minister. There will be a Benami account or whatever is that will go automatically to them. Then only you will get it, otherwise you won't get it. That's our system. So, the China, for example, is very excellent in sports. This is the same thing happens. Chinese pick up children at the very early age, and they will feed them special food, protein, everything special, and very rigorous, intensive training. And, so the children are well off there, those who join the sports and all that. So that's a different system than ours. In India, government does not recruit anybody anywhere. Somebody wants, this is politics, If an average poor man's child is a good runner, probably he will not be sent to the Olympics, but instead somebody else, because going up to whatever nation the Olympics is conducted, the plane ticket, this and the shopping expenses and that expense, this expense, that's what they will do. India doesn't care how many medals we get. We are more concerned how many officials can go. That's a trip, because that's what socialism is, socialism. In America, the private economy, those who wanted to go, they go. Government does not pay anybody's wages or anything. You have to find your own money. You know, there will be people coming and sponsoring you. Sports companies will sponsor you. You're a good sportsman. And you're making millions of dollars. You know, millions of dollars, they will sponsor everything for you. Yeah. So it's a different system. So, you know, as far as we are concerned, we believe in the biblical system. That this biblical system definitely encourages, you know, a modified, what I call the Mosaic capitalism. You know, I want to call it the Mosaic capitalism, where, you know, their true freedom of and the ownership, private enterprises, freedom of work, freedom of saving, freedom of using your money and all that, all with the principle of stewardship. So the notion that private property encourages greed and envy, that's an accusation, say private property encourages greed and envy. No, private property does not need to encourage greed and envy. Why should it be? If I have 10 cents of land and I produce maximum, my neighbor doesn't need to be envy of me, you know, because he can also produce. So I say the private property motivates for hard work, you know, and for labor, you know. It's no, don't call it envy. You are producing 5 tons of grain from your acre. You know, if I'm envious, that's good envious. I decided I want to next year produce 6 tons of, you know, grain in my, you know, acreage. Well, why call it bad? It's good because you are producing more, not by cheating anybody, not by stealing, but by investing more wisely in your land. That's what it is. So we should encourage that. So the notion that it encourages greed and envy is not true. Man is greedy whether he is under private system, public system or any other system, because man is a sinner. So all those vices of sin will be there, whether, you know, and as long as you are not born again, you are a natural man and you are afflicted by this. Once you are born again, then we can expect some change in our character. The fruit of the Spirit will come. I pointed out yesterday that the Russian President Brezhnev is said to have close to 100 luxury cars, some of the vintage cars and all. Why should he have? He said, that's my hobby, collecting cars. Doesn't it cost money? Where do you get money? I thought it was a Martian system, you know, equality and all that. No, there is no equality there. Brezhnev was more covetous than anybody in the capitalist system. So the question is, which system is compatible with the Word of God? What system agrees to the financial principles of the Bible? The commandment, thou shalt not steal, is the clearest declaration of the right to private property, as we pointed out earlier. Private ownership and stewardship of property are assumed to be the proper state of affairs throughout the Bible. Private ownership and stewardship responsibility, you know. The land belongs to the Lord, and the Lord has given it to you. You are holding the land, cultivating the land, using the products for the Lord. You can use as much as you want under the stewardship responsibility, but you cannot abuse the producers. You can only use, not misuse or not abuse. So a Jew was free to eat as much as he wants. He could never throw away food. You know, he can never throw away food. You know, produce. God. In the Bible, every person was to produce at least enough for another person. Yes. It is said that in the American capitalism, every farmer produces food for at least 4 other people. At least. You know, not that much, because they own 10,000, 20,000 acres of land, you know, that's what they own. So they are not producing just for one other person. One person needs only 1 acre of land, you know. But they are taking the whole population of the world. They say that they produce 4 people in the world, food. There is plenty of food in this world. But they have to drown food in the ocean, you know. Truckloads of food. Because countries like India and some other countries will object them bringing all those grain to the market, then our farmers will go break. See, they can sell 1 kilo of wheat for 2 paise if they want. They produce so much. But our farmers have to sell 1 kilo for 10 rupees. So the international market cannot go down. That's called dumping. You cannot do dumping. So the excess food, what they will do? They have to dump in the Atlantic Ocean, Pacific Ocean, truckloads of food. Otherwise the world market will collapse. The poor nations cannot survive. They cannot give free because the nations won't survive, If food is available free, what our farmers will do with their products? You have coconuts to sell. You have 2,000 coconuts every month to sell. I got 20,000 coconuts and I'm giving it free. Every person who come to buy coconuts to your house, I say, come here. How many do you need? 10. Take it. So what do you do with your coconuts?
They could give to some poor countries like Somalia.
They are giving. They are giving. The problem is not they are not giving. The problem is the food they give, they take it and sell it to buy guns. That's the problem. They give the food for free distribution to many countries. Where do it go? This always go to the big wholesale markets, where they buy it and they sell it. This is what is happening. So the free distribution cannot, because then the people won't work. That again. If America is giving free food to all the Indians, then will the Indians work? So that cannot be possible. That cannot be possible. So American government has come up with a system. The farmers can only cultivate half of your land every year. You got 10,000 acres, you cultivate 5,000 acres. Government will pay you for 5,000 acres you have not cultivated. Yes. That is to prevent the overproduction. Otherwise the world market will collapse. The free economy, that's a free enterprise. The Russians made a study, why Americans are successful in farming. We got land, we are not. They came up with, there is no motivation for our people, because whether they work, they don't work. You give them only one loaf of bread every day. They cannot work and they cannot go and buy steaks and eat and chicken fry and eat. No, they cannot. Because it's rationing. How much you produce, government takes it away. How much you get, government decides. So what motivation is there? See, American farmers have motivation because it's theirs. It's theirs. So private enterprise, it's not actually greed. It is it's not greed at all. It is the stewardship responsibility to produce. So, we needed to produce for others also, definitely. Exodus 22:1 and following states clearly that if someone steals, he must pay restitution. And even many times, sometimes he has to sell himself to slavery for restitution. Why is this? Because God has bestowed the right to own and enjoy one's property without anyone else encroaching upon that right. So a heavy price has to be paid for encroachment. In India, anybody can steal. That's the only thing. The only business that does not have income tax, sales tax, any tax is stealing. Thieves don't have to pay any, they don't pay any tax. They just steal and they just use it. Black money, what is it? The whole black money is a kind of stealing. You are not paying government's due, but falsifying your account, and you are keeping more than what you are allowed to do. And people pickpockets, do they have a tax system? No tax system. No. Yes, all the land mafias in Maharashtra, how many are they? Crores and crores and crores and billions of rupees worth of property they own. How did they make this money? Where did they get all this money to start with? There must be some, falsification somewhere, because in the Indian system, it's very difficult for an honest person to make money. In the capitalist system, you don't need to show any lie. There also people do it because they want to make more money, But in the true biblical capitalist system, you don't have to say any lie. You pay government's share and you keep your share. You can produce as much as you want. The first time the idea of state ownership came in the land of Egypt during Joseph. We know that the famine came and then finally the farmers have to sell the land to the government. They had no other way. That's the only way they could survive. But then Joseph was a very wise man. What did he do? He said, okay, land is ours. We will give you seed. Seed is free. You take the seed, cultivate. 4 parts you keep, 1 part you give to the government. That's a very reasonable thing. When the seed is free, and the land belongs to government, but land is given back to you, you cultivate it as if it's yours. 4 parts you keep, and 1 part you give to us. That's a very fair system. Very fair system. If the government will do the same thing, this income tax is reduced to, 1/4 of what you earn, 25% or 20%. It's what, 35% now? 35%, Yeah, not for the total money you earn, for the taxable money. You can do a lot of things with it, investing it in insurances and all these things, and you can do wisely, you can do that. There's nothing wrong in it, Yes. And of course now it is 2 lakhs, I think. 2.5. Oh, okay, 2.5. That's very good. For senior citizens get a little more, I guess. Yeah. Well, that's nice, People who are making money, they can. Yes. This government is a little more capitalistic in outlook, than the previous government. Yes. So what were we talking about? Pharaoh, right. The government owning. And even there Pharaoh was, or the Joseph was very right, because he did not take the property of the priest. All the priestly class people were exempted. Their property, they belong to them. In the Bible system, the priestly class didn't have any property. They had only property for feeding their cattle and grazing their cattle, and maybe building a house. Nothing, no farming, because they don't want. God doesn't want this priest to go and involve in that kind of job. Their job is this, and God made a principle that the labor is worthy of the hire. Muscle not the ox that treadeth the grain. So as long as the people are faithful, they bring regularly sacrifices, the priest will get a good portion of it. Good portion. The best portion always get the priest. They were eating beef so much, mutton and so much, every day, and not one of them had obesity. And be honest, the only priest who was obese was Eli. What was his problem? He was using fat. His sons were taking uncooked meat with fat, and they were cooking and eating it, so the obesity came. Otherwise, the fat has to be burnt, only then the share can be taken. Because the fat belongs to the Lord. That's the statement. The fat belongs to the Lord. Fat doesn't belong to us. Fat belongs to the Lord. So the priests were not to work. They were given the best. The only time priests went to work is when people stopped sacrificing and all. The altar was closed down. The courtyard was empty. And the priests looked at each other and said, how are we going to live now? Let's go. Find some, job somewhere. So when good kings came, they corrected it. Josiah and all those good kings came. What did they? The first thing they will do is restore back to the priest system. The people, were exhorted to give their share. The earth and all it contains belong to the Lord, yes. God has given this land to man so that he could keep it and cultivate it. There is principle of stewardship in owning the land. Man needs to give God the leasing price. I will say if the Egyptians gave 20%, or 25%, let us give. God fixed that 33% in the Old Testament. The leasing price for the land. Yes. And I recommend very highly that all Christians give 30% at least. You can give 10% for your own use, for conferences and camps and for that sort of expenses, because that's what Israel was doing. They were given the freedom to use 1/10 of their income and they go to Jerusalem for buying food or this and that, and they can. 10% was to be given in support of the poor and the orphans and the widows and all that. And 10% directly was to be taken to the temple, handed over with the covenant that I have not touched it. That's what every Christian should do. 10% must be put in the church offering. 10% must be given for, good works, charity. And 10% for our camps and conferences and all those, thing. How blessed will everybody be? Nobody will be complaining, I don't have money for conference. Our conferences won't have to beg anybody because everybody got money, and you will complain to your money. We can ask them to serve in better food and better facilities, and better facility could be rendered for camps because everybody got money, Here what happens is 5% to 6% maximum given to the church. Out of that we have to do everything. Then when we have special projects, we will ask people to give, more. Well, that's need not to be there. It should not be there like that. And I think we should encourage, systematic teaching on the financial responsibilities of the people. We should teach. Our people are suffering because of that. As the Lord said in Malachi, when we do financial, in our stewardship unfaithfulness, we are robbing ourselves. We are robbing God, but thinking that we are benefited. We are not benefited. We are not benefited because God has made a principle. He who sows more, he will reap more. The sowing there is giving. The Lord is in the habit of giving the seed to those who sow the seed. So sowing is giving. So God can give you as much as you want. You give 80%, God can give you so much seed to sow. Because the rest 20% will be more than the 90% of some other person who give only 10%. And that's a principle God always employs. So those who have given to the Lord more, they never suffered. In the history of the church, they never suffered. There are many who gave up to 90%. 90% of all their income they have given to the Lord, and even then the 10% amounted to millions of dollars. Isn't God wonderful? He is. Now why don't we take God at face value, at face value of His promises? Why are we so miserly when it comes to giving? I'm not talking about Powai Church or Vasai Church or anything. I'm talking about Christians as a whole. Not some churches will be an exception to others, but generally speaking, our people do not give even honestly 10%. There will be some. Most churches survive because there are few faithful ones. That's a fact. Most churches, because those who count the offering, they know that there will be a lot more 50 rupees and 100 rupees and 10 rupee notes than there will be. The 1,000 rupees notes will be fewer than the others, But yet most of the people, if you take the 1/10, even mere 1/10, there should be many, many more, 1,000 rupee notes. And this is fact. This is fact. So, we don't teach economics to our people, that's a problem. We only preach about the love of God and the mercy of God, the forgiveness of God, and John 3:16 always, and all the second coming of the Lord. But we don't teach about our, financial stewardship and all that. That's equally important. Equally important. So our Lord Jesus Christ, He complimented the woman, the widow who gave 100%. Not, see? Lord was calculating things by the percentage. You know how God calculates our giving? Not by the amount we give, but by the amount we keep. What percentage we keep? You keep more than you need? That's it. Do you keep more than you need? Of course, we can always increase our needs. We can say, Lord, I like to have an Audi, driving this, small car or this car, I like to drive a Mercedes Benz, you can always increase, Yeah. Living in a two